Thanks for joining us again. Slasher movie territory, Jared. But 2023 slasher movies. Tonight we're going to cover the new Amazon Prime Blumhouse picture, Totally Killer. But before we get to that, Jared, we've got some talking to do about The Exorcist.
Mm-hmm.
It was our last episode that we've just released. We got to see it 3 days in advance of it being released. They put us up with beers and food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loved it.
We got some photo ops. We were loving ourselves. It was okay. Acceptable as a picture, but not great. Now, that it finally rolled out to box office numbers this weekend. It did 45 million worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
Budget's 30. All sounds good. In anyone else's book, you've just found your budget plus more, and by the end of another week or two, you probably got 100 million in the coffers, and you're sitting pretty good, aren't you?
Yep. There's
a big problem here, though. That Universal acquired the rights to this stuff at a price of $400 million, which what you have just looked up, reportedly, what you just looked up says they acquired the rights to make these 3 movies.
Yeah, I believe
to get the catalogue.
I believe they don't own the rights. I believe they licensed the rights for 400 mil.
That's disaster. Because this shit's going to get wiped off the fucking face of the earth next week.
Oh, yeah. When
Tay-Tay fucking rolls into town and knocks these guys off.
So what are we thinking? Does it make 100?
I'm thinking it makes 100 worldwide.
Tops,
okay? So on a budget of 30 million plus maybe 20 million of advertising or whatever the fuck you factor in normally, you're making a profit.
Yep.
You're making a 1/3 profit.
But even by Blumhouse numbers, that's not... Like, Blumhouse usually has the fucking
it's
budget.
It's 5 million.
Yeah, Blumhouse usually has the budget and then another double or triple that back by the first weekend.
Yeah, first weekend. So, it has underperformed.
Yep.
But this gigantic price tag...
Yeah, seems like a problem. And, we could be off on that, but... I was just looking at the Hollywood Reporter stuff, and it seems to me from reading that it is a license. It's not you own everything. So I suggest it's licensed for those 3 movies. And the other problem is, I look at Halloween, right? We say the Halloween trilogy, the recent trilogy by the numbers was a big success, and it was. Like, it made a lot of money. But Halloween 2018 made 250 plus worldwide.
Yeah.
Halloween Kills was nearly half.
Yeah, but that was COVID.
It was 130. It was COVID. Halloween Ends 100.
So it just went down.
There's diminishing returns, right? Even after the first one generated some buzz, as you said, COVID caused a few issues for the next one, obviously, but we haven't fucking recovered from COVID.
No,
for box office wise, Halloween Ends. You can't totally blame COVID because things were a little bit kind of coming around by then, and it only made 100.
I think you can blame a shit movie.
Well, I wasn't. I didn't say that.
Yeah,
well,
but you know what I mean. Like,
I have on a number of occasions,
but that didn't help. Now, this is where the things look totally different. Halloween is much more accessible.
Yeah.
So the simple fact is, when you went into bed, like when Blumhouse got into bed on Halloween. It made sense to spend 15 million or whatever and get, and pay Jamie Lee Curtis and all that.
But can I throw this out there? When Halloween had David Gordon Green attached, I was like, fuck, I'm excited. Because he was out of his wheelhouse and Danny McBride was involved. And I'm like, shit, he's done comedy. What are they going to bring to the table? And then what you first started seeing was like, fuck, they might have some idea of what they're doing. After watching a trilogy of movies of Halloween, yeah, I'll give them a pass mark because I think most of it I enjoyed. Obviously not the last one. By the time we got to Halloween and it's The Exorcist and it's David Gordon Green's Exorcist, I was kind of like, oh, all right. I wasn't super excited, and me and you were always going to go and see it. We're not the people that you got to fucking convince. Because we're going to go and watch that shit regardless. It's the stuff that we like. It's the people that aren't all that excited that you got to bring around. The first thing for me was, like, I know we talked about the trailer. I didn't think the trailer was terrible, but it didn't exactly, blow me skirt up when I was watching it.
No.
So if that's me, who has a level of excitement about these things probably beyond the average movie fan, and cinema in general is struggling, 400 mil has put you in a fairly deep fucking hole. They must have paid that before COVID, surely.
Surely. But think about this, though. Halloween 2018 is widely regarded as the best Halloween since the first one.
No, I wouldn't say widely regarded, but yes, I think there was more positive to it than...
Quite a lot of the fans thought they did an absolutely fantastic job.
Yeah, I think it was well received.
So, you cut them a little slack with kills.
Yeah.
You did. By the time we got to ends, you couldn't cut them any more slack. But The Exorcist has now been fucked over because the first one just doesn't cut the mustard.
But so in hindsight,
so you've got another problem that, on top of the fact that it's a property that's not as accessible as Halloween.
In hindsight, does Halloween look like it was fucking planned? Because they said they had plans for 3 movies. 2018 to kills to ends.
No,
doesn't seem like a fucking plan to me.
Holy shit, no.
If that's your fucking plan...
I think there was
So what's the plan here?
I think you'll find with Halloween, and I know we're slightly off track here, is there was a broad brush, we might have 3 films in us.
Is that the plan?
No, the plan was...
The plan was...
What do you reckon about 3 pictures?
Here's a planning meeting. We got 3.
Great.
What's the plan for it?
No, but then Blum...
Just trust us. We've got 3.
Blum gave it the old, you get 1, and if it doesn't succeed, you stick the other 2 up your ass and you fucking wander off, and boom, $250 million later.
But now, they've banked on 3.
Yeah. I think they're...
With the fucking last one. And as far as I'm aware, they banked on the 3 Exorcists before Ends had come out.
What the fuck are you doing banking on 3 Exorcist films?
Well, after 2 Halloweens... Well, fuck, even after 2 Halloweens, your total was $350. So why are you paying $400 million for the rise for 3 Exorcist movies?
Well, what I don't get is, The Exorcist has 1 great film in its canon.
Yeah, well, that's...
And the rest of it's a pile of shit.
Yeah.
Basically.
And I don't think a lot of them have made money. I don't think any of them...
Apart from the original, the others have not made any money.
We better check up on that, see the totals for each film. But yeah, the 4th one...
Well, fuck, let's do it while we're talking.
I believe the TV series was pretty good, but again, didn't garner enough of an audience to go past 2 seasons.
Did that have Gina Davis in it?
Yes, I believe it did.
Oh yeah, I believe that was pretty well received.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is, what are you doing banking on Exorcist films? Like, you have no track record for it.
Well, I can understand going for it, especially if Blumhouse...
paid $10 million to make it. You don't need 30 fucking million.
But Blumhouse clearly isn't on the hook for 400 mil.
No.
Universal is. So how much are they splitting here?
Blum can walk away from this.
If someone walked into Jason Blum's office with a fucking bill for $400 million, the guy would have a heart attack on the spot.
Okay, the original...
He says, is there an extra 2 zeros on that? Because I've never signed a fucking cheque more than $4 million.
Okay, the original Exorcist made $441 million.
Yeah.
On an $11 million budget.
Yep, long time
ago. But, and this has been re-released 1 million times.
Yep.
So it's made a shitload of money over that time. Okay? Exorcist 2, The Heretic, made $30 million. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They also scrimped on... I think the budget would probably be very sort of similar. Okay, so Exorcist 3, $39 million.
And went through a bunch of problems too.
But it was considered pretty reasonably well accepted that it was alright.
Yes.
And then Exorcist the Beginning, $78 million. So
does that account for both releases?
I don't think so. That's the Rennie Harlan one.
Yeah. So what about Dominion then?
Oh fuck!
Does that have a separate box office?
I don't know.
Because it would be pittance. It came out after, like, it was pretty much straight to the videos and things like that.
Yeah, Dominion. Okay, hang on. Dominion. 251,000. So it's not really chipping in anything here.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we have is 1 extremely, I'm going to say it, great horror movie.
Now,
The original is a widely regarded as one of the greatest horror movies of all time.
can I put it to you this way? Just hearing those numbers, and some of them might have slipped out of my head, but the first one made 400 mil in a long time ago, so that's a big total. The next 3 films have not crossed 200 mil together. Correct?
Yeah, correct.
So you've paid 400 mil for 3 movies when the last 3 didn't cross 200.
Well, fuck, mate, I don't work at Universal. But I can tell you right
I'm
now...
talking to you directly. You paid for it. No,
Do you know what I mean?
paid.
Even if Jason Blum comes into my office, I am saying, why do I bank $400 million on The Exorcist? I don't. You know why?
Well,
because guess what? I could re-release the first one.
I think what might have happened is Universal said, yeah, we'll stump up the cash if you want to make an Exorcist movie, and Jason Blum went, that's my cut. If you've already paid for it.
I can tell you
I think there must be some risk for him.
There must be. There must be. He can't...
He said there was.
Well, he's only doing it to make Universal feel better.
Yeah,
He's saying, oh, I'm wearing some of the risk too.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have to take throw a little jab at Blumhouse here.
Yeah. Just a stick.
Stick, move. Boom. Yeah. Like, I think with Halloween and with this, and although I understand they are more prominent IPs and stuff, so you need to bank a little bit more cash into your budgets for this. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
But the simple fact is, when they start to push away from their bread and butter, which is lower budget horror.
And you get in bed with Kenny Powers and his silly ideas on these things.
Yeah, when you start bedding down with Kenny Powers, I think you lay down with Kenny Powers, you end up with fucking shit. Okay?
Yeah.
No, but I'm not blaming Kenny. You can't stand Kenny Powers, but I've never blamed the guy.
I do like the bloke, but I feel like there's a few things like. I still watch Big John and Little John and say that's Kenny. That's Kenny.
Yeah,
all over.
But Michael Myers wrestling in the sewers, I don't know whether that's
I don't think I can blame him for that entirely.
But once you start going away from what your bread and butter is, right, they're now starting to see the law of diminishing returns.
Adam, you were throwing out Canon pictures.
I am! This is not canon. I mean, fuck. Blumhouse has not made a movie with an orangutan.
Jason Globus.
With an orangutan where the fucking producer talks to the orangutan like it's human and expects a response. No, I mean that Canon went the same way. They used to make this sort of cheap jack stuff that was making money. Yeah. You know, but then they started going, we want Masters of the Universe, we want Superman, and we put money in that we don't have.
Yeah, but this worked for Blumhouse when there wasn't a massive price tag.
And I'm not saying that Blumhouse is fucked up or anything.
I'll put it to you this way. I think Blumhouse is fine because they're tying up with a company that's footing a lot of the costs.
But Blumhouse has still got Five Nights at Freddy up the back pocket.
Yeah.
Which costs fuck all. This sort of movie.
Yeah.
And
so to me, Blumhouse is fine. They're tying up with a bigger company that's footing the bill, and they're the ones that are rolling into the office, throwing hundreds around, and making this call. He's in bed with them, but I don't think he's going to be wearing most of the costs for this.
Well,
and I think his thing is, I just want to make these. I want to make these movies. Yeah. I want to make because obviously he's a very, very smart businessman. But you can tell there's an element of fan about him that he wants to be involved in these big franchises.
Agreed. And
still wants to crack at Friday the 13th and things like that.
But by Blumhouse standards, he'd have made money on this. If this was just made by Blumhouse... If it was just
him, he's making money on it.
He would have made money. So I wouldn't be as disappointed.
Even with the reviews. And then he comes back in to Gordon Green and says, look, I promised you 2 and 3.
You won't be getting...
The budget's going from 30 to 10.
Yeah.
That's what you get.
But you know what, though? From a Friday the 13th perspective, and I want these guys to have Friday the 13th. Like, I want them to have it.
I am excited about what's coming with Friday the 13th, but yes, I would love to see it.
I'd love to see what they would do. But no more than $10 million.
With Gordon Green?
No, fuck no.
Okay.
No, he's had his go.
He's had his.
What I'm saying is, no more than 10 million for a Friday picture. I mean, for fuck's sake. They were making those movies back in the day for 250k.
Well, I reckon the way you play it with Friday is the classic Blumhouse. You know, throw me your idea.
Model.
And if Halloween is any measure, at the end of the meeting, the last 5 minutes is, if we made it 2 and 3,
no.
Where does it go? Where does it go? And if Gordon Green says, well, there's sewers, there's wrestling.
No. It's not.
I love your first idea. Let's fucking workshop 2 and 3 before we go to that.
Do you know what I mean? I could see Blumhouse doing a great job with Friday the 13th. And, you know, doing something like bringing fucking Tom Savini back to do the special effects or some shit like that, you know, throwing in the fan service.
Bring Tom Matthews back. And
yeah.
Like that.
Throw the fan service to
stuff that the games have been doing.
Yes.
Bring Kane Hodder back in the mix.
Correct. So I feel like they're the best place for this. And I'm not kicking them because, look, these guys have done a fucking fantastic job. And tonight's movie is no different on that front. But you know what? Honestly, and not to give away my feelings on this movie beforehand, I would have released this into the cinema.
Yeah.
Because I look at Happy Death Day, which I believe cost like $1 million or $1.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
And it is one of Blumhouse's best movies.
Well, not to stretch this too much further, but we both noticed this is a Blumhouse television production.
Yeah.
So have they gone into
streaming,
into producing stuff directly for streaming? Because as we said, Blumhouse has previously said when he makes a movie, he doesn't even think about where it's going to be released until he's watched it. And I would think if you saw this, you'd say, fuck, let's get it into cinemas.
My oath.
So maybe they've gone away from that and do they now have a department that is...
Well, they must have, because they produced that Torn Hearts, they produced a couple of others that were on
the one that I
exclusive
watched.
to Amazon.
Yeah.
So they must be. But the way I look at it is, some of their best movies have not been that heavy-duty IP that they got.
Yeah.
Black Phone, Happy Death Day, Freaky, you know, they were all smaller films.
Yeah. Correct.
Look, it's an interesting discussion to have. And I'll tell you what, though, if you've paid $400 million for this, someone's been fired over this. Well, they have. Someone at Universal's been fucking... As soon as those box office numbers come in, the head of Universal's gone, bring that prick in here right now.
But I thought, like, you look at Halloween, which was a raging success by those measures, and you say, we made a total of...
$450 million between 3 films.
Why are we paying $400 to license? I may be wrong on that. This discussion may be a little off track, but as far as I could tell, everything I said was saying licensed for 3 films.
That means you don't own it. You don't own the original either, so you're not getting anything out of any of that. Disappointing. And I feel like it might be the nail in the coffin for The Exorcist.
Possibly. For a while, at least.
Yeah. Some other fucking idiot will pay $400 million to buy it. And you know what? They'll
go into meetings and say, have you watched the original? It's fucking great.
Yeah.
You buy it
that
for
was fucking 50 years ago. Okay? Everyone involved in that's almost deceased. So I think we can fucking clearly state that we don't have any, we can't drag anything more out of that. But you know what I think that also touches on? It feels like it's another one of these things that we want the IP to make the film, but we don't particularly craft anything decent. You know, it's about buying up IP and making sure we can flog it for whatever.
Yeah, and that's been put out there by Blumhouse, that IP is a great shell for fucking good ideas sometimes.
Of course.
I just thought this one might have been lacking with the good ideas. It was just a shell for ideas.
Yeah. Alright, let's take Yeah. Not even a fucking decent shelf either. It's kind of rickety.
Slightly.
Alright.
But I mean, fuck, the evening at the preview screening was great.
Oh, exactly. Thank you, Universe.
That was awesome. Please invite us back.
It turns out that email I sent didn't go through where I told them keep us in mind, you fuck. So, nobody knows we're keen for another go at it.
They're not keeping us in mind after this. Jesus Christ.
All right, let's take a break. Here's the trailer for 2023's Totally Killer.
I'd like to report a crime that hasn't happened yet. Have you seen the movie Back to the Future? Basically, I'm living that movie right now, which is how I know there's going to be a murder tonight.
Hate time travel movies. They never make any sense.
Happy Halloween. How about we all stay in and hand out Halloween candy? No, Mom. You know how hard this time of year is for us. Your friends were murdered 35 years ago. It's not 1987 anymore. Stay safe, honey. I love you. Excuse me, what year is it?
1987.
Oh my God. I know.
The 80s are almost over and I haven't even tried Coke yet. I don't know.
Oh my God. Mom. Fuck off and die. Jesus, Mom. Mamacita. Ay. Ay, ay, ay. Mamacita.
Time for my birthday, bitch!
This is a creepy-ass cabin in the middle of fucking nowhere.
What's the big deal?
There's a murderer on the loose, and you drove us into the woods. Oh my God! What? I forgot to bring vodka.
You have 7.5 hours until you're stuck here forever.
I need to stop all this horror before it happens. The machines kill us all. No, they more just rip apart the fabric of our society via dance videos on TikTok. They dance against us.
Come on out. The water's warm. Just so you know, I don't do blowjobs. You pee out of that thing.
Just think, maybe if she did do blowjobs, she'd still be alive.
Yeah, let's not make that the lesson. 80s weed sucks. This is just dirt. Look at all these twigs. Yeah, I could give you a gummy this big that has 100 times more weed than this.
Totally Killer from 2023, directed by Nanatka Khan, who directed Always Be My Maybe. Is that the one with Keanu Reeves?
I don't know.
Cameo?
I think you watched that.
I've seen it. Yeah, I think it's the one with Keanu Reeves and
I
a
think
cameo
you're right.
that's fucking piss funny.
Yeah.
As himself being an arrogant twat.
Yeah.
Wandering around clapping on about how he's making so much money from speed and all this sort of shit. Stories by David Matalon, who wrote The Clearing, and Sasha Pearl Reaver, who wrote Let's Get Married. The screenplay is by Matalon, Pearl Reaver, and Jen D'Angelo, who wrote Hocus Pocus 2. It's produced by Jason Blum, who produced Megan, Greg Gelreath, who produced Black Christmas, and Adam Hendricks, who produced Cam. It stars Kiernan Shipka as Jamie Hughes, Olivia Holt as Pam Miller, Charlie Gillespie as teen Blake Hughes, Lachlan Munro as adult Blake Hughes, and Julie Bowen as adult Pam Miller. I don't know what the budget was, but I can only assume fairly small, considering it was Blumhouse telly. And it's no box office, it's streaming to Amazon Prime. In the scene set in Pam's basement, the camera pans over several VHS tapes of popular 80s films with handwritten titles. Pam is shown watching RoboCop. RoboCop was released in July 1987. The film takes place in October 1987. This implies Pam has bootleg tapes, but it's never explained how she got them. Interesting. Alright, straight down the line, I really enjoyed this. And I think I think they missed a great opportunity to make some money in the cinema.
Yeah.
I think this would have kicked ass, and it would have made plenty of money.
That's it. Amazon hands out.
How much?
Well, I heard they paid like $100 million for air. And,
What the fuck? But that went to cinemas as well, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that
they
actually-
also, Amazon pays it as like a loss leader to boost up their Prime memberships.
Huh?
So they might have got a good bunch of cash. They might have just packaged the movie for 10 mil or whatever, sell it to Amazon. They can pump up the stuff themselves, and Blumhouse has made their money.
Yeah, of course. But I feel like it would have done well in the cinema.
Yeah, I think it would have. I think
It's accessible. It's cool.
It's Halloween time.
Yep, it's October. Would have been perfect. I thought it was a really enjoyable riff on the classic slasher kind of formula, with the addition of the time travel bringing some really cool elements to it. I love the production design. I thought the 80s music was great. Just bring that atmosphere, and there's a shitload of good humour in it.
Yeah.
It reminds me very much of Happy Death Day.
Yep.
In its
Freaky.
execution and freaky. Yep.
Yep.
Couple of small issues, but they don't really dampen it for me. So I gave it 3.5. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, pretty much agree. I think it was quite funny throughout. I think the killer sequences were very cool. I think they handled them really well. As you said, I think it's funny. I actually feel like one of the strengths is the time travel stuff.
Yeah.
Like they handle a lot of the queries and stuff we've had about other movies quite well.
Yeah.
And go to lengths to explain some questions that you might have and whatnot. I think if there's one problem that I could circle as the biggest one, more of the stalk and slash.
Yeah,
more kills, couple more kills.
Because she does go a little bit quiet in the centre.
Yeah, there is some quiet times there in that regard. But in that time, they're still pushing the story forward. They're still
getting
laughs.
plenty of laughs. Like they kind of do a really nice job of kind of filling the gap between all the kills.
My issues were very minor. I think I would go back to this very, very soon. I could imagine myself in even a couple of weeks, just chucking it on again and having another look. So I actually went to a 4. I really enjoyed it. And I think...
Fucking drop your drawers than anyone.
Oh, fuck, come on. I mean, I watch Full Moon Features. Of course I'll fucking drop my drawers for something like this.
Hell, that Full Moon Features hasn't seen a 4.
If Kevin Spiritas was in this movie, it's a 5-star affair, no dramas. But, yeah, I just think it was it was a great time.
Yeah.
But a well-crafted movie as well.
Yeah, agreed. I think some effort and some polish has been given to the script.
Absolutely.
Actually give it they've actually looked at the issues and found ways to sort of navigate around them.
Yeah, and the humour and some of the stuff that I really enjoyed about it makes me overlook a couple of those little bits and pieces. In terms of just enjoying the experience, definitely a 4 for me.
Yeah. Now, just the whole idea of time travel connected to a slasher film. Like, I think that just as a plot idea, it's excellent, and it is ripe with possibilities.
Well, initially, you going through the slasher setup, I thought they put a good 80s style slasher theme together with it, like, you know, stabbed 16 times on the Sweet 16 birthday, and I thought that stuff was like, this is exactly what you would have got back in those days. After Halloween, we were looking at, you know, how can we fucking fit this into a theme? Oh, well, we've got, you know, the holidays. We've got My Bloody Valentine. As soon as I saw the Sweet 16, I was like, this fits perfectly.
It fits perfectly. I mean, along with, you know, cancelling the dancer, it happens thrice.
It happens thrice. It'll happen 16 times. But then you throw the time travel into that. We're on fucking solid footing.
Very solid footing.
In terms of getting me interested in the first fucking 10 minutes, bang,
well,
I'm there.
It's about...
My panties were already off, Adam.
Yeah. I ruined several sets in the early going, but you know what? For me, it's about being able to take that classic slasher setup and do something different with it.
Yeah.
But do it well enough that you're not just sitting there going, oh...
Yes, and I know
down this road.
I know they tossed out some comparisons to Final Girls. Similar conceit in that it's the mother and that sort of thing, but
I didn't feel like they
different.
were greatly connected at all.
No. In terms of once you take out the mother-daughter connection, there's not that much similar about it.
Because that was more like your it was more like
Last Action Hero
Hero
kind of going into the movie and take the piss out of it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, it had similar strokes with some of the characters and the stereotypes and that, but very different, I would have thought, by the time you've run through the whole picture.
Agreed. Meeting your own mother and connecting with your friends and shit, like and your family and stuff in the past, and
well, that's Back to the Future.
yeah,
right?
it all works, but it all works pretty well here. Like
Yes.
they don't. I think they keep it simple,
Yeah.
which is smart.
And on top of that, already going into spoilers, so switch off for, if you haven't watched it, come back to it. But killing Julie Bowen's character early provides exactly the motivation you want for someone to go back in time and fix that.
Yeah.
Because as many times as you use it, the death of someone that you love is a fucking strong motivation for anybody.
Agreed.
Especially, when they go into the fact that she feels like she didn't know her as well as she wanted to, and because she's a teenager herself, they haven't got past that phase of button heads and whatever.
Yeah.
So I thought that was that too continued things in a good fashion.
Yep, I dug that. 80s fashions and music, spot on.
Loved it.
Got all that right. Didn't really need to over-license things, so you don't have to... you didn't spend $400 million
Correct.
your hands on all of it.
Yeah.
But there's just enough in there to keep you... your 80 songs coming up, and and I think the production design is really solid, and the costuming and everything. So you build an atmosphere there.
Yep.
And I like that. And you differentiate your past and your present
Correct.
really well, which I thought they did. I think they did really well.
Yep. Did fine on that.
Solid start. Introducing the previous murders via the framing the podcast as the way to kind of provide that information.
Yes.
Which has been used a few times more recently.
And initially I was a little bit down on that, but I think as it strings it out, that's part of the meta aspect of the movie.
And it also
like
comes
use it
into
quite
the
well.
finale.
Yes.
And the reasoning behind the end of it. But I feel like it was a solid way of doing it.
Mm.
And it's funny because we were a little bit down on when Halloween 2018 did that.
Oh,
and it kind of did it first, it was
but
one of
that
the first
doesn't mean
ones to do it.
it's... I mean, I was down on it here. Let's not go into Halloween 2018 again, but it wasn't just the podcast. It was the fact that the podcast people were fucking peanuts.
Yeah, true.
And doing stupid things as well.
And this was a little more straightforward. You were just getting him doing his podcast tour and just explaining the Sweet 16
And he
killer.
looked like a ball bag
Yeah,
while he was doing it, but it wasn't as over the top as Halloween.
Yeah. But I like that. It was a quick setup.
And it's not just Halloween that's done it. It's been done a bunch of times now. Fucking we have it in the Scream TV series, Texas Chainsaw. Like, there's a bunch of people that have done it. Yeah.
Okay. Julie Bowen's death, nice little set piece. I like the fact that she's kind of prepared, but not. And her death is kind of like the Drew Barrymore type of thing.
Yeah, I actually had exactly the same note. It reminded me a lot of that. It had a real fucking frenetic vibe, like Ghostface.
Yeah.
In that initial Drew Barrymore scene. That was done pretty well. Obviously wasn't as long and not exactly the same. It wasn't strung out as long as was done in Scream. But I just got the same feeling from it.
Great.
Especially when the killer turns up and starts attacking her. It felt very similar.
Yeah, and obviously she's probably the most well-known cast member. Mm-hmm. So a nice way to sort of, again, step around the expectations a little bit.
Yep.
And say, well, okay, clearly she's not going to be, she's going to be one of our longer-term cast and then killing her off.
Yeah.
I like that. And again, I feel like the idea of killing Mum is a reasonable reason why you'd want to go back.
It's fucking tried and true for a reason, because everyone has people that they fucking adore in their life, and that's a strong motivation for saying, if you said to me you could go back in time and fucking bring back someone you love, everyone's going to do that. And especially, as I said, you give it that, you love this person, but there's a disconnect that you want to fucking...
You want to
bridge.
Yeah, I like that. I liked it.
I also, from that scene, from that point, I was like, this mask is really cool.
Yeah.
It's got the Max Headroom kind of vibe, which is the 80s all over. But it has a little bit of fucking Halloween to it. Like, it has a bit of the Michael Myers. But then we've got the colour and the fucking smile.
Yeah.
And it gives this really creepy kind of touch, like when they're in the midst of fucking kicking the shit out of each other and he's doing some pretty hefty work in those scenes. The mask is just fucking sitting there with his big grin on its face. It gives it this really sort of creepy vibe. I actually really loved it.
Yeah. I do. I think I like the idea of just the killer in the mask, but he's also just wearing a pair of jeans and a hoodie. You know, it's very much kind of its time, as opposed to Jason and co having to get coveralls or overalls or something. You know, like
Jason having to get his fucking Sparky certificate to, you know,
and stealing Harold's clothes.
I'm not touching that motherfucker's pants for anything.
Yeah, I know. He probably recently crapped in them. And, like, that was where you said she looked out the window and goes, Harold, what are you up to? He's fucking 6'6", 280. Yeah. And Harold's 5'5" and a fat prick. Like, you cannot mistake that guy for Jason.
No, you can't.
But I just dug the look because it's of today.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
You know, and it's not really a costume.
No,
it's just a guy dressed in his normal shit.
Yes.
Then with the mask on.
Yep.
So I like that. I don't know why, but I fucking couldn't stop laughing at the over-enthusiastic game of dodgeball that gets fucking played.
Oh, mate, that was one of my favourite parts.
And they're throwing it, and people are getting hit in the head, shit's flying, goobs coming out of mouths.
Well, I can tell you, like, having taught some PE in my time, and having been to uni for physical education subjects and shit like that, and being thrown articles about why dodgeball's in the fucking PE Hall of Shame and all this sort of shit, I was pissing myself watching that scene. Like, it was so funny, and it kicked off that whole, this is the 80s, where, shit just, you didn't have the checks and balances. No one was storming down to the school. It was just...
Nah, it's fucking
the PE teacher just going, get the fuck in there, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was very, very funny. That definitely hit the sweet spot for me.
Yeah, definitely.
I actually, I got a couple more before then, even. I had a few laughs that I feel like, Lachlan Munro was... I don't know why, but I couldn't stop laughing when he's watching the reporter on the TV in the storm. And he's like, it's incredible. He doesn't even have his hood up. I think he might win a second Pulitzer for this. I was just like, there's no one better as kind of getting a reasonable acting performance, but acting like a real dildo.
Yeah. Munro. And again, kudos to his performance as the psychotic in Dead Man on Campus who proceeds to tell people to kick me in the junk.
Of course.
Well, they told me to be quiet. They can suck my quiet cock.
Yeah. You also had, prior to all this, I can't believe you skipped over a few of these, but, the principal, when he's saying, the sheriff's got a couple of questions for you, and she just blurts out, where was your dad when your mum was killed? And he's like, Jesus, Karen, you don't want to warm up to that.
Yeah, that's right.
And then... the giving a fucking spray to a bloke in a federal booby inspector t-shirt. I was loving that. Well, as usual, the bloke wearing the federal booby inspector t-shirt was not inspecting any boobies on any level, federal or other.
Yeah, his was more local. Local level booby inspector.
He wasn't even a fucking community booby inspector. Very, very funny. There was all these little bits and pieces that just had me kind of giggling all the way through.
And again, that shit kept you intrigued and interested.
Yes.
Because you take away the slasher movie element.
Yep.
And you'd still have kind of like a bawdy 80s comedy.
Yes. Yeah.
To me, that sort of shit works when you have these slasher movies where you're trying to where you're sort of cross-pollinating.
Yep. And also... in amongst that was one of the better fucking, Halloween and slasher nods. Where she's walking down that long laneway and the truck comes through.
Yeah.
And then we get him standing, but it's a long way off.
Yeah.
So there's no hiding behind anything. He's just fucking standing on the side of the street.
I love that. I thought that was
really cool. Really cool.
So it kind of keeps the interest levels there.
Yeah.
Whenever the slasher stuff's not around.
All these little things that show a really competent fucking film being put together.
Yes.
And some, as you said, some real depth and some real care going into a lot of it. I loved it.
This was polished.
Polished, all
Someone
right.
actually fucking polished it.
Someone polished it. Exactly.
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Usually you just put it out there and you make it up ways you actually filming it.
Exactly. Or you don't.
I thought Olivia Holt was quite good as like young Pam.
Yeah.
And especially when we first meet her, she basically just turns around and tells her to fuck off and die. And then seconds later, she says something about, I can't remember what it is, but I can't remember why they're doing it. Riding horses or some shit, she says to her, and she turns around and says, "Why don't you ride on these and get bed?"
Yeah. And there was also, like, again, there was a little bit of depth. I think, you know, this probably goes into one of the things that I wish was a little bit better, but they actually want to try to put some depth into reckoning with it, with the fact that she fucking discovers that her mum was a fucking bitch.
Yeah, but what I also love about that is that they kind of twist that again later.
Yeah.
That she's not... Yes, she was a bitch.
To some extent.
To some extent, but
wish
they're
that
not
a little
quite as
bit more.
far
Yeah.
as she thought. Like, and it sort of comes out later near the end that, oh, you fucking bullied this person and what have you.
Yeah,
but it turns out she didn't do that. So I dig the fact that they did try to go down that path.
Yes. I think the part that I wish was probably a little bit more developed was the personal connection between those two.
It probably wasn't, yeah. It wasn't quite as good as...
It was pretty reasonably well done, but probably could have been a little more. But I like the fact that they actually went with that.
Yeah.
That you don't go back and, you know, you go back in there and your mum is a very different person and you've got to uncover what you know.
But, you know, it's also the side of, you know, like high school's not everything.
Yeah.
So just because you're a fucking cunt in high school doesn't mean you can't become... You can grow a bit.
Yeah. Well, you know, they went
life.
with this one that she was already somewhat grown but just fucking had this front with other people. So, yeah, that was cool. I also like the introduction for Randall Park. I mean, he usually makes me laugh at when he's sitting there fucking leaning against the wall. He's like, old people, sick people, and people with dogs. And the other guy, he's like, that's the order. That's the order that you hate people in? So, yeah. And the other guy goes, yeah, good order. What the fuck are you guys talking about?
Yeah, and again, that's those sort of side characters, because he's not really in it that much.
No.
Just add that little bit of freshness to things.
Yeah, but they also, I mean, he's a ball bag, he always is. But I like the way that they acted this. He's not actually that fucking stupid. Like, they put him in the time period and he does some stupid things, but then he also does some things that make him, like, reasonably competent police officer.
Yeah.
Of course, it's fucking back and forth, but, you know, she drops the name and he kind of looks at her and kind of goes, that sounds like a made-up place. And it's sort of like, well, whether it is or isn't, he's kind of looking at her going, oh, there's some suspicion.
Yeah.
And then she kind of starts talking about the killer and he goes, well, who's he killed? And she's like, well, no one yet. So he's like, yeah. You know, it doesn't just paint him as fucking, I'm not listening to you, I'm a complete idiot.
Yeah. It doesn't quite, Agreed. It gives him a little bit more, which is, you know, again, just that little extra that's been added to the script.
Yeah. We then fucking segue straight to the receptionist that just loves doling out private information left, right and centre and doesn't give a fuck about it because it's the 80s.
I love that face.
Yeah, this is good.
You can get whatever you want, whenever you feel like.
Yeah.
I like the waterbed death.
Of course you do.
The death on the waterbed.
Yeah, that was good, actually.
Yeah, it was well played. It was well done. I really love the fact that her death changes. Where she was when she was killed changes because she's gone back and she's mucked around with something.
Mm-hmm. But it hasn't just completely stopped it from happening.
No, it still happens, but it just moves locations.
Yes.
And I like that. And I think adding the waterbed death, again, classic 80s piece of furniture.
Yeah.
You know, so we get that included in there.
Yep. This is actually one of my biggest likes, is when we start getting into dealing with the time travel and her best friend's mother, who kind of becomes her best friend in the 80s, starts explaining that, hey, it's like a river. Like, it's still flowing down, but you might change kind of where it's going slightly, but it's still flowing down the river and time is still going. And then we immediately go back to the present day. And I'm like, other than frequency, who's fucking touched on this? It's still happening in the present.
Yeah.
And we're going back to the past. Like, love Back to the Future, of course. I'm not going to say a bad word about it, but it doesn't really do that.
No, it doesn't, no.
And so the fact that we're kind of touching back and forth starts to introduce that element of, why do I recall this, but then when I listen to my podcast, I said this?
Yes.
And they start saying, well, fucking, you know, there's a couple of characters in the present day that are onto, there's someone back there, and they start fucking seeing the impact when everyone else is just rolling with the changes because they don't recall what's going on or they haven't listened to the podcast.
Yes.
I mean, it does introduce the fact that if everyone else has listened to your podcast, if they listened to it on that day, well, they would have heard what you said too.
Yeah.
And things like that. So it is introducing some questions, but I love that they fucking played with that.
I would agree, yes. I think that, as you said, only frequency has kind of touched on that properly. You know? So I think, again, it's a little bit of, it's taking that time travel element that we've seen a million times and just giving it a little extra to push the interest level. So you're going, oh shit, we haven't seen this before.
Yeah.
What's part of time travel being such a staple of film now?
Yeah.
That it's hard to find something fresh.
And they take little pieces of what Frequency did. Like, obviously, Frequency had the element of we're communicating right at this time, which was, it's hard to replicate without actually fucking, you know, like what they did, having a device to actually talk back and forth. But they did similar things, like, oh, she's leaving me a message here.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when Frequency kind of burnt the fucking wood, or like,
he actually
that was
dropped
cool.
his cigarette.
Yeah, that stuff was...
Or he put his wallet in the...
Yeah, and said, it's here.
It's here, and it was there.
Yep. Like, that stuff, again, not done to that extent, but there's a picture of her, or she left me this fucking... She put this here so I could see that. I thought that was cool.
Yes,
really happy that they went with that, and you know, present day, past, handled it very well.
Yeah, agreed. When Randy lets everyone know he's in touch with his emotions by grabbing his cock.
Yeah, did that a couple of times.
Why?
It's a
Why do I
comedic
laugh?
effect.
Why do I laugh?
I don't know, but
I
I
laugh
did too.
because I'm an idiot.
Yeah,
Right?
I did too.
But then again, I laughed at Jackass the other day with us
Of course you
playing
did.
that game with the
I
thongs.
told you, the Dum Dum game.
Oh.
Classic.
Honestly.
Did you laugh as hard as me when Wee Man got fucking flung off the...
Oh, that was funny. What about that poor prick who got fucking punched in the nutsack?
Oh,
then got a
yeah.
softball in the sack.
And then got a pogo stick
Oh.
on the sack. A softball, an ice hockey
Ice
goal,
hockey.
and a pogo stick. His ball bag looked... It was purple. Fucking hell. Stop that.
And in the end he goes, this cup sucks.
Yeah, I'd imagine it
I was
would.
like, fucking dirt. I could have told you that.
What was Knoxville saying? I couldn't stop laughing when he's talking to Francis Ngannou and he's like, is that as hard as you've ever punched someone in the dinky? He's like, yeah, because I've never purposely punched someone in the... Oh my god, those guys are idiots.
I know this is a segue, but fuck. The softball pitch where he keeps moving.
Yeah.
And he's got this fucking gigantic welt on his inner thigh as well.
And they're like,
From where
that one was going to hit. If you hadn't moved, you're done. And he's like, oh, I can't help it.
And then also, just as another side note, Preston Lacey shits himself for no reason.
You know, the funniest part of that was him saying, why am I doing this? I'm only 50 years old. I thought exactly the same thing, Preston.
You know what though? His buddies don't even fucking think it's disgusting.
I know. I would leave you where you were standing and fucking say, I don't know you, but they're sitting around.
You're catching a fucking lift home. Alright, sorry. Jesus Christ. I'd love to see a good cameo from the Gravitron.
Yeah.
An
Yep.
absolute staple of my youth.
Yep.
I had chundered outside that a couple of times.
Yeah, I was going to say, you used to step into that thing and smell the chunder before you'd actually done your own.
Yeah, later when you got out of there, like, ugh.
Yeah.
But a nice little, again, throwback to the 1980s.
Yes.
Which worked out very nicely. And my last like is actually about the killer. And the fact that we have two killers, but one of them's from a different time period and coming back.
Yeah, clever.
I thought that was fucking really clever.
That was good.
What a great way to kind of make out like he's still alive.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's another thing where, okay, we've seen the two killers. I actually wasn't expecting it here. But they bring the two killers in, and I was fucking twisted in knots by the second one, because I'd sort of cottoned onto one of them a little bit, but the first one I was dead set on somebody, and it wasn't. And
But you're a dumb motherfucker.
Oh, fuck, come on. If we're chalking up tallies here, I think I've chalked up a few. I think I've chalked up a few in the wins, but this one I was kind of twisted up a bit and didn't see the fact that they were going to go two time periods. They were going to go one from each.
I love that because...
And
it
didn't
seems
go
so
with the same person from each time period.
The fact that that seems like such a simple concept to have, but yet nobody's on the lookout.
So you're a dullard too, then?
Oh, fuck, dumb as dog shit.
No, but yeah, I thought if we were going to go with two, that would have been one way to play it. That it's
the same person in both time
periods. But they didn't.
No, I like that. They didn't go with that at all, and I think that was really clever.
Yep.
Really clever.
Worked quite well.
Do you have further?
I've still got about six.
Treasure trove.
Got a treasure trove. I was having a great time. Another funny scene that I thought was very well played was trying to get into the party, and the principal, young version of the principal, goes, "I might know another way in," and then immediately they cut to him fucking struggling to scamper up the fence. Very good, very well played. Randall Park again. This is an active crime scene. Nobody move. And then he kind of just wanders off and everyone leaves the crime scene, but no one's really running. They're just kind of fucking walking and kind of jogging off the scene. I was like, yep, good. Again, on the messages on the locker when Tiffany dies, I don't know if you noticed, but there was, the gone but not forgotten and all this sort of stuff. The top one says, "Burn in hell, Tiffany." Yeah. Excellent. Good stuff.
Solid.
Science teacher? You'd never laugh at him? Oh, there's been lots of tragedy. But the only way to get through this is just to keep on moving. So get your books out. Excellent.
Right through it.
I had a personal connection here when she was making cocktails, and she basically just pours the fucking vodka and then splashes a little tip of orange juice in there, and then kind of has a sip and goes, "Ugh," and adds more vodka. That reminded me of an evening where, a long time ago now, where one of my mates decided to make me what he referred to as a Chapo special. That was essentially, if it wasn't fucking 50% vodka, it was 60.
Oh, fuck.
I was just, as soon as I saw her doing that, I was like, oh, God, I remember that sort of shit.
Let me guess, you powered down a few specials, did you?
I powered down a couple of specials. I finished that night sleeping on a floor that somebody gave me a sleeping bag, and I failed to unfurl the sleeping bag, so I slept under a rolled up sleeping bag that night.
Honestly.
Probably in large part due to a couple of Chapo specials.
Yeah, I'll guarantee it.
That's the first thing I thought of. I cannot believe, I thought you would bring this up for sure. I suck at foreplay, so you're going to have to use the jets for that.
Oh, yeah, in the sun.
He's talking about getting in this far.
Yeah,
I suck at foreplay, so you're going to have to use the jets. Good stuff.
Good one.
Very good stuff. Easy humour, but the cops and the DNA, again, I think it's because of Randall Park. I just find the guy funny, but when she starts... Immediately I saw, when I saw that they fucking whacked the killer and the nose was bleeding, I thought, oh yeah, DNA. I thought they're going to go with this. Of course they did. And she mops it. She's like, yeah, I don't know what it stands for. You got your database or whatever. And he starts fucking laughing it up and go, yeah, I'll just plug that into the fucking worldwide database. Essentially describing what we got now. Low-hanging fruit, but I think the way he delivers it is quite funny. And The scene, again, the podcaster's dad reporting on the scene from the school, and he's sitting there talking to, is it the fucking gym coach again? Oh no, it's the guy that's the singer in the band.
Oh yeah.
And he's talking to him, and the guy's just sort of talking away, and then he goes, looks back at the camera and goes, men showing emotion, fascinating. A bit more of the kind of 80s, taking the piss out of the 80s sort of, where it was on point again. But yeah, I think in terms of, I've singled out a couple of specifics there, but I was very impressed with what they were doing. So
yeah, agreed.
That was it for me.
All right. Dislikes are limited from my perspective.
Yeah.
CGI blood, fuck, fellas.
Really bad on a couple of occasions.
Do not do that.
Especially in the first kill.
Practicals.
Well, they show the first stab, and the dress starts soaking in what's clearly CGI blood.
So why are we doing that? Practical effects.
Is it that much cheaper? It must be. Because they go back to it later in the funhouse.
Yeah, that's right. There's several stab wounds in that. And then...
But you can see in those ones that the knife is just... The guy's just like stopping in the air.
Yeah.
And they've added the blood and possibly... Well, I'm assuming the blade. And it looks like noticeably bad.
Yeah. So, you know, big no-no for me on that front. I mean, you can hire an effects crew who can do that shit with ease.
Cheaply.
And cheaply, yeah. Cheaply. Indeed.
Talk to the people that made fucking The Night Comes For Us. They've probably got leftovers.
Oh. Plenty.
Yeah.
The shit they probably didn't even use. The one thing I laughed, and I copped it. I copped it because it is the conceit of the movie. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, fuck, you go to the science fair and you've built a fucking time machine?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yes.
I just thought it might be that they get struck by lightning or whatever while she's in the bloody thing, or something silly like that.
I like that they added, I mean, again, it's fucking silly that it's that on point that they stabbed the machine, but I kind of like, well, at least they go with the theme of the movie. They go with the idea of the movie being the crossover with the slasher and time travel. But yeah, it was the one really big part that you just had to fucking cop and move on.
And that's fine. Like, I moved past it. Like, it wasn't a big deal.
Yes.
But it's just like, it's so stupid to think of it like that.
Yeah, I agreed. And I think they possibly decided to, hey, everything else is fucking super strong. Let's just push past this and make it as 80s as possible, especially when she starts putting it together in an arcade machine and whatnot down the stretch. I was just like, yeah, we just got to move on from that. But I agree. It was probably the one thing they didn't bother to really kind of put a lot of time into there.
Agreed. The only other thing I had was it does slow a little bit in the middle.
Yeah, after
there's a bit of downtime.
I feel like after the second kill, we get a bit of a stretch there.
Yeah, and all of it's perfectly fine because I feel like it's building the story and it's giving us plenty of humour to work with. But the slasher stuff is very secondary.
Yes.
But the more I look at it, the more I think, well, the slasher stuff is very, very peripheral.
It's more of a comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it works under those circumstances. But I feel like, you lose a little bit of that slasher stuff there.
Yeah.
And you could have probably weaved in some more of it.
I definitely had that on my dislikes too. I think a little more of the slasher stuff was probably warranted. And I feel like that may be, going back to the conversation about into cinemas.
Yeah.
It does lack like a real standout set piece or something like that.
Yes, true.
And that's probably due to budget. You probably could have made it the Funhouse or something like that. Again, small issues.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you can see probably why they didn't have anything to chuck on a trailer that would really drag people through the door.
I just feel like you could have got people through the door just being the fact that it was in October period, which is Halloween period.
Yep.
It's made for fuck all. It looks really good.
Yep.
And it's got some actors that we know of. So it's not like it would have been like randomly, oh shit. But I feel like some word of mouth, because as far as the reviews and everything have been, they've all been solid.
Yep.
So I feel like you could have made some money out of it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Even if you dumped it in cinemas for a couple of weeks.
Yep.
That was all I had.
I had a few more. A few gags that are totally obvious. Like, some of them worked, as I said, the DNA, Randall Park and that sort of thing. But there's a handful where, you know, like the one where they're talking to her mum as a young girl and saying, oh, is there anyone that you might have crossed at school? And she's like, oh, no one that I can think of. And then starts rattling off everybody in the fucking school. It's like, that didn't surprise at all. It wasn't that funny. Perhaps they didn't use the crossing of the present and past enough.
Yeah, maybe.
That was one of my favourite parts of the movie. I could have done with just a touch more of that.
Yeah, they did spend a little bit more time in the past, didn't they?
They did. And, again, warranted, because your main character's there. But I felt like the fact that you established that her friend was well aware of what was going on and then shared it, we could have done just a little more with that, especially in the fucking finale. I thought it was going to come back to, much like Frequency, that they use it in the finale to go back and forth, to give an advantage, or to, when everything looks lost, that the fucking something put together. I guess the communication from the present to the fucking past was never established.
Yeah.
Which was the issue there, but yeah, I could have done with just a touch more of that. Damon, or Lurch, I mean, he's never a fucking serious. The moment he fucking stares at them at the fair, leering, I was like, unless it's Roy again, we're not going there, are we?
Are you talking to me, Sheriff?
No, Roy.
Yeah, I am, motherfucker. You are top. You are the number one suspect.
Get back to your job. Let's face it, in the 80s, someone turning up and killing starting to happen at the same time is enough for the police to fucking arrest you, put you in a room for fucking 24 hours until you confess that it was me.
Definitely. You are fucking looking at a life sentence. The barrel of a life sentence, I can tell you now.
Yeah, they didn't broach that part of the 80s enough. It doesn't really surprise in terms of the stereotypes. Like, I know you kind of mentioned that about people changing and that sort of thing, but it feels like everyone else is a fucking straight line.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, the jock and all that sort of shit.
The nerds and
100%. That is all standard shit.
Yes.
And they don't play too far outside of any of that.
I feel like there was room for a couple of amusing elements there too.
Agreed.
I'll leave it to them because they're probably fucking far more qualified to work that shit out than I am, but I'll just leave that note for them. And the last one for me, and we did discuss this a little bit, but this might be the biggest one of the whole lot. I mean, it's a hard thing for me to cop that Amelia's mum is a fucking genius who can establish a time machine, create a time machine in high school. Okay, she didn't create it, but she established everything that her daughter needed to fucking create it in the future.
So she's clearly a smart cookie.
But because high school didn't go quite as expected, she's working a dead-end job? I mean, seriously.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, she's at the minimum, she is highly paid.
A fucking highly paid public servant.
She's making more money than fucking we are, you know. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I sort of put it to you that if Albert Einstein's life had only gone, you know, maybe 50 to 75% of the way that he hoped it'd go, he's still providing probably an immense value to his local community.
He's not slinging fucking burgers. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, fucking hell.
I mean, they didn't even sort of bother to even give us a sort of a sense of something else went wrong in her life.
Yeah, she's a she's a bioengineer. When everything goes well, she's a bioengineer who can create a time machine. I'm pretty sure even if things go to shit, you're not turning up to Macca's and she's not saying, look, the fucking soft serve machine's out. She's probably fixed it for you.
Fixed it for you, yes. Correct. She does repairs on the side.
That was maybe, aside from the time travel, the time travel was the leap I was prepared to just go with.
Yeah.
That was the one where I'm like, come on. Come on.
That shit is more it's lazy.
Yeah.
It's a lazy cliche. You know, things didn't work out and I never was able to leave town and I'm stuck in a dead-end job. Fuck off. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like
if that's the case.
So you weren't able to get. So you couldn't get into the number one school you wanted. Surely you had a safety school.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's a community college, but it's fucking still.
Exactly.
You still got an education.
I couldn't create a time machine for Tesla, but I created a low rent time machine in my garage. Like, you're still getting it done, aren't you? It didn't rewire her fucking brain.
You're getting headhunted for work. Like, don't worry about that. The word gets out.
I don't know what we were supposed to believe. Were we supposed to believe that she was so downtrodden in high school that she just thought, oh, well, I won't show anyone my time machine?
They could have even gone with, like, she had her daughter young or something. I don't know. Like, they could have... Perhaps
I mean, you don't want to go... Obviously, a couple of things that I've mentioned, I can probably see why they didn't go too deep into it because they were focusing on the comedy aspects and, you know, they whipped out a 1 hour 45, which I love. They didn't fucking overstretch. But that one was just...
Yeah, ridiculous.
I mean, I saw it at the end and I was just like, come on.
Yeah. That's the one piece that just is out of place.
Yeah.
And it fucks up... It doesn't fuck anything up, but it's just kind of, like, silly.
Yeah.
Lazy, as I said.
I mean, you're managing the Maccas at worst, aren't you? Fuck. Come on.
Area manager? I'm an area manager.
Yeah.
Like,
I manage the fucking cluster. I don't manage the one store.
Yeah, you've got 4 to 5 stores under you.
Yeah, correct.
Like, you're capable of doing that.
And I've just on the side, I've designed a fucking machine. I've designed a soft serve machine that doesn't break down.
Yeah, exactly. Very helpful in my local community.
Exactly.
And so, did you have anything else?
No, that was everything.
All right, that was totally killer. You can find us on Podomatic, iTunes, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcast. Send us an email at thrillme@ionet.net.au. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia, Podomatic at thrillme.podomatic.com, and Instagram at thrillmepodcastau. Keep an eye on the Facebook page for details of the next film, which of course being October will be horror related, I'm sure. But until then, take it easy everyone, and we'll catch you all later. Cheers.
Find the podcast at Podomatic or on iTunes. Don't forget to rate and review. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia, or contact us at thrillme, all one word, all lowercase, at ionet.net.au.